Hey guys, what's up? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be filming my March wrap-up. I read a total of 12 books, which amounted to 4,602 pages. I wanted to mention that I did read 4 out of the 5 books that I mentioned in my 5-star predictions video. So far, only one of them have been a 5-star, so cool. I also read 2 arcs that I was really excited about, and I read 3 books that were requested by publishers and authors that they sent to me. For the types of genres I was reading this month, it's kind of all over the place, but I read 4 new adult romances, which probably isn't that surprising, 2 literary fiction novels, 2 thriller novels, 1 poetry novel, 1 young adult dystopian, 1 young adult contemporary, and 1 adult romance. For number of ratings, I had 2 5-star ratings this month. One of them was a reread, and one of them is one of my new favorite books of all time. 5 4-star books. I had 2 3-star books, and I had 3 2-star books. This month started off really well. Like, I enjoyed a lot of the books I was reading towards the beginning of this month, and then towards the end of the month it just like tanked, and I was like not enjoying really anything, and ugh. And male versus female authors, I read 4 male authors and 8 female authors. We have a lot of books to get through, so let's just jump right into it. I'm gonna try to be as brief as I can. So the first book I picked up this month was The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. One of my only 5-star ratings of the month. It's one of my new favorite books of all time, and I did make a full book talk on this if you want to see more of my thoughts about it, and I'll put a link in the description for that. But basically this book is a literary fiction, historical fiction novel that follows this man named Cyril, and it follows him from his conception all the way through the end of his life, and it's just a beautiful story. It takes place in Ireland in the 1950s, and Cyril is gay, and he deals with a lot of issues with LGBT rights within the community and the Catholic Church, and it's such a gorgeous, powerful story, and it's just one of my favorite things that I've ever read. So if that at all sounds interesting to you, then I would highly, highly, highly recommend picking this one up. Yay! 5 out of 5 stars! Woo! The second book I read this month was Bone Music by Christopher Rice. Huge thanks to Amazon Publishing for sending me this one for review. This is a thriller that's young adult. I don't think it's classified as a young adult, but the main character is a young adult. She gets raised by these 2 serial killers who killed her mom, and she doesn't know that they're serial killers until they get caught when she's 7 years old. Like, she just always assumed that they were her parents. She goes back to her real father, and her real father tries to like sell her story to the media because he thinks her story is like really fascinating, and so he wants to profit from it. Very action-packed and suspenseful, and I will say it has a lot of surprising like graphic violence and graphic language for a young adult novel, which is why I think this one does make it a little bit more adult. Some of the sci-fi twist parts like kind of went over my head a little bit, but I did really enjoy this book. I found it really hard to put down. And yeah, I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Finally read this. My library had the audiobook available, so I listened to the audiobook, and I thought it was fantastic. This book follows this girl named Asa who has OCD. The main premise of the story is actually like really lame. It's like one of her best friend's dads goes missing, and then they're like trying to find him and whatever. But the parts that I did enjoy about this book was just the OCD representation. I just thought it was done really well, and like you really feel like you're in the mind of somebody who has OCD with her. I enjoyed her friendship with this girl Daisy. I just thought that they had a very realistic and nice friendship to read about. I loved Daisy's sense of humor. She was like my favorite character in the whole book. I just really thought that she was hilarious. I thought the romance was okay. It was no Hazel and Gus, but like it was still a pretty cute romance, and I liked this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was good. The fourth book that I read this month was an arc of All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. Thank you so much to Atria Books for sending me a copy of this. I wasn't expecting it, and I was like fucking living. This book comes out in July. An adult romance that follows this couple, Quinn and Graham, who have been married for a couple of years now, and they're just hitting this rut. Like, there's this problem between them that the description on Goodreads doesn't explain exactly what the problem in their marriage is, so I don't want to like spoil you for what it is, but they're going through this problem within their marriage. They're really struggling with it, and they might be on the brink of divorce because of it, and it's just a really sad and beautiful love story. Like, this was looking to be a 3-star book for me up until like the very end. It just got very emotional, and like I just got like it like tugged on my heartstrings, so I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars because of that. And this isn't my favorite Colleen Hoover Hoover book. Like, I think her other romances are a lot better. I think It Ends With Us will always be my favorite by her, but I do think that this one is a lot better than Without Merit in some of her young adult books. The next book I read is a poem that the author sent to me, and that is All Our Wild Wonder by Sarah Kay. This entire book is all like one poem, and it's all like illustrated, and this poem mainly revolves around education and appreciating each other for all of our differences, and I really thought it was super cute, and I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Behind the Bars by Brittainy C. Cherry. This is a new adult romance that I put in my 5-star predictions video. Brittainy C. Cherry is one of my favorite authors, and I really love her writing, but unfortunately this one was just like not my thing. It takes place in New Orleans, and it has like music as a main part of the storyline, which is something that I did enjoy about the book, but like these two characters were so cliche and stereotypical. Nerdy guy who gets bullied every single day. The popular girl, she's new to the school. Nobody understands why she wants to hang out with like the nerdy kid. Girls like, you just don't hang out with boys like me, or some version of that. Like, they literally say that like 50 million fucking times. Like, I get it, oh my god. Like, girls like her, like popular girls like her that have like Chanel bags and whatever, don't hang out with loser boys who get bullied all the time and have a stutter. Like, it's just, they were so stereotypical, cliche young adult characters, and I wasn't expecting this story to have so much young adult. And then by the time they jump forward to like when they're older, they're like completely different, and I just didn't really like these characters at all. I didn't connect with them at all, and it just felt like tragedy porn. Like, it was trying way too hard to be sad. The love was so insta-love. It was so insta-love. It was just so bad. I ended up giving this one 2 out of 5 stars, and I was very disappointed by it. The next book I read was Off the Ice. This is a male-male romance that is like a student-teacher romance, and it has a hockey player in it. This book ended up being okay, and it's a student-teacher romance because the student is this hockey player going back to college to get his degree. He takes this sociology class with this sociology professor named Sebastian, and then he's the professor, and then they start to have this like forbidden romance kind of. And I think the main reason why I was disappointed in this one is because the romance didn't really feel as forbidden as it could have been, you know, because like the whole reason why I like to read these like student-teacher romance is because like of the forbiddenness of the relationship. They just like waited till the end of the quarter, and then they got together, and then it like wasn't a big deal anymore. So I don't know, and like the romance was cute, but it was like forgettable. Like, it's not something I'm gonna remember, so I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. It was alright. The next book that I read this month was Forever Right Now by Emma Scott. This is another one that was in my 5-star predictions video. This is a new adult romance about this girl who's like a recovering heroin addict, and she's the side character in the Butterfly Project. She's Beckett's like best friend, Darlene, deciding to like start over again, and so she moves from New York to San Francisco, and so she moves into this new building, and she meets this guy who's studying to become a lawyer, and he has this daughter. It was so fucking cute, okay? Like, I loved this story so much. It just didn't quite hit the mark of like a 5-star book for me. Like, I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. So it was like, it wasn't a disappointing book, but because I had predicted it as a 5-star book, it was like a little bit disappointing because it didn't quite reach that mark for me. But this book was really cute. I loved Sawyer. That was the main guy character. He was so cute, and his like, he was so sweet with his little daughter. Ugh, I just like died. Other than that, it was really cute. I enjoyed the romance so much, and Emma Scott's writing is just so fucking beautiful. Like, she's such a good writer. I just love it. So yeah, 4 out of 5 stars for me. The next book that I read was actually a reread, and that was The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I listened to the audiobook this time around, and the audiobook was just so fucking great. Lucy and Josh are like one of my biggest OTPs of all time. Like, this book is just written so well. I just love Lucy's character so much. Like, I just relate to her on a whole nother level. Josh is just so swoon-worthy. I don't know what it is about him, but I just like, every time I read this, I'm just like, oh my god, he's so perfect, and like, I love him. Seriously guys, if you are into like new adult romances and you haven't read this book, like, fucking read it. I swear you'll fall in love with them. And they're just so cute, and their little witty banter, and like, the whole premise of the story is that they both work for a book publisher, and one of them is gonna get a promotion that will make them the boss of the other one. So it's like, they're in this like intense competition to get this promotion, and they're just so fucking cute, guys. I love this book so much, and it's so nice to like reread a favorite book and it actually lives up to how great you remember it being. Like, that's just like the best. So I ended up giving this one 5 out of 5 stars again. The next book I read was The Sphelix by Jay Flaherty, and this was sent to me by the author himself, so thank you so much for this book. This is a young adult dystopian novel. It follows this boy named Leo who is trying to get his hands on this copy of this banned book, and then he gets caught by these black cats, which is like their police force, with the banned book, and so he's forced to go to jail, and then he has like 2 options. He can either go to the pit or he can serve in their military to serve his jail time. So him and his friends decide to serve in the military, and then they go through all this like training of like learning how to shoot arrows and like learning how to like be in the military, and then there's this like supernatural event that happens that like changes his perspective on things, and he starts to question like what really happened with his dad and what really like what's really going on with him, and like if he's capable of something supernatural. And young adult dystopians just aren't really my thing. I've never really like loved young adult dystopians, so it wasn't super surprising to me that I didn't like absolutely love this, but for a young adult dystopian I do think that this was pretty good, and it's pretty like action packed and suspenseful and definitely keeps you on your toes, because I was able to read this whole thing within 1 day, so I mean that's telling you a lot right there. But yeah, I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't a bad book, it just wasn't like the greatest thing ever either, but I do think that if you like The Hunger Games or like Divergent or a lot of those popular young adult dystopians, then I do think that you would enjoy this one too. The 11th book that I read this month was The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. This was also in my 5-star predictions video. LOL, jokes on me, this was not 5 stars. I ended up DNFing this book after 300 pages. I wanted to read this because it's getting a movie adaptation and it just sounds like something I would enjoy, so I wanted to love this book. I gave it so many honest tries. I read it on 3 different occasions and I just pushed myself through, and I got to 300 pages and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. It's boring the actual fuck out of me. Like, I can't. And it basically just follows this young boy named Theo Decker, and he goes through this very dramatic experience in the first like 50 pages of the book. Something tragic happens to him. He becomes an orphan. From that moment on, he just gets taken to this friend's family, and then they start to like raise him. And then after that, like after they take him in, it just slowly drags into this story about his like day-to-day life of living with this really boring family. After 300 pages of it, I'm done. I don't really care. I never connected with Theo. Like, there was nothing that really like made me connect with his character in the first place, and the writing is beautiful and decent. Like, I will give it that. Like, Donna Tartt does have really gorgeous prose and like writing, but the characters are also like flat and forgettable, and I don't like any of them. I'm just so disappointed because I wanted to love this book. Like, I really did. But I ended up giving this one 2 out of 5 stars. I couldn't even finish it. I only got to 300 pages. The last book that I read this month was an ARC that I got approved for on NetGalley, and I was really fucking turnt about it, and that was Providence by Kepnes. This was like my most anticipated book of the year because You by Kepnes is one of my favorite books of all time, and this book sounded really different, but I was still really excited for it because I love her as a writer. So it's about this boy named John who's best friends with this girl named Chloe, and then one day when John is on his way to school, he gets kidnapped by his substitute teacher named Mr. Blair, and then he goes missing for like 4 years. And then the story jumps forward 4 years later when he's finally found, and he has no memory of the last like 4 years of his life. He realizes that he has these like supernatural abilities, like he kind of has like powers, and he doesn't know how to control them, but he realizes that anyone that he loves that comes near him is harmed. I had such high hopes for this book. Like, I thought the premise sounded so cool, but unfortunately this book ended up being extremely disappointing. This book was trying to do so much in one story because it was trying to be part thriller, part supernatural, part romance, and part detective story, like, that came out of nowhere. Like, there was just this random detective storyline that like weaves its way into the story, and it's this detective named Eggs, like his name's actually Eggs, and he's trying to find out who John is and how he has superpowers and like all of his backstory, and we get his actual point of view and storyline about his wife and his marriage and his kids and all of his issues, and like, I don't give a fuck. What? Like, who is this? What? This book tries so hard to like have a good romance story that you care about, but like, I didn't care about John and Chloe. Like, there was never any scenes of them together in the beginning for me to care. By the time he got kidnapped, it was just like, okay? And then this book relies on you to care about this romance between John and Chloe, because if you don't, then like there's no emotional connection to it. And unfortunately I just didn't care. Like, Chloe was such a weak character. Like, literally all of her scenes revolved around her just thinking about John, waiting on John's call and thinking about John and like, oh my god, John, and like, does she have anything that's just like about her? Like, I felt like I didn't know who she was because she literally just talks about John the whole time. I don't even know what this book was, honestly. It was just such a strange book. The ending was so cliche and lame, and so I ended up giving this one 2 out of 5 stars, and the only reason why I got 2 stars instead of 1 star is because the writing was good enough to keep me interested until the end. I mean, I did read this all in one day, and I was able to read the whole thing, which is saying a lot lately, because lately I've just had this mindset, like, life is too short for me to finish books that I'm not enjoying. Like, I just don't want to do it anymore. I don't fucking care. So for me to finish a book that I wasn't really enjoying out of curiosity does say something to me. Like, it was still a decent enough book that I wanted to finish it. I don't know, I was really fucking excited for it, and I'm just really bummed that I didn't like it. Those are all of the books that I read in March, and I can't believe I read 12 books. I'm feeling like so burnt out. I think I'm mainly feeling burnt out because 2 of my most anticipated books ever that I thought were gonna be easy 5 stars for me ended up being massively disappointing to me, and like the Goldfinch and Providence, both of those, like the fact that I ended up kind of like hating them is just, it's left such a sour taste in my mouth. When I think that I'm legitimately gonna give a book 5 stars and then it ends up being so fucking disappointing and I give it like 2 stars, like that just makes me feel like so awful, and like, why do I even read? And like, ugh, like, do you guys ever get like that? I'm just like really frustrated lately with books. I'm just like, why do I put myself through this? This is getting really ranty now. Oh fuck. I think I'm just gonna take a break from reading for a week or so. I just need a breather, and you know, I'm starting university next week on Tuesday, and I'm just so overwhelmed with everything, and like next month I'm not expecting to read as much. Like, this was me trying to fit in as many books as I possibly could before going to university, because I know that I'm not gonna have any time to read next month. I'm not gonna push myself to read if I don't want to. You know, lately I've just gotten into this mindset where I'm like, I need to read so I can like get this review out to this author or this publisher, and I need to read so I can like read this book before university, and I need to read for whatever reason. And now I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so burnt out, and I'm just like done, and I need a break. And I know I'm saying this now, but I'm probably gonna be reading like later today, but I just like, I'm so disappointed in those books. Ugh, it's just left a sour taste in my mouth. Yeah, sorry for that rant. Anyways, how many books did you read in March? What were your favorite books? What were your least favorite books? What are your opinions on any of these books that I read this month? Let's just talk about it in the comments. I will see you guys soon with a new video. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys next time.